He stared at the crisp $100 bill in his hand. Bewildered, unable to understand how someone like him could have such a large sum of money. He had thought his life was over long ago, from the time the work accident had cost him his job, to the time the poverty had forced him out of the room he called home. He had grown accustomed to seeing the small change that passers-by would occasionally throw at him. But now, $100, a huge sum for a homeless person like him, was right in front of his eyes. How could a homeless person have this much money? How could someone like him receive such great help from a stranger? The bill in his hand was like a sign of something big to come. But would Marcus have the courage to take this chance? A light rain fell steadily on the empty street, the cold wind blowing through, making the air even more chilly. Under the awning of a used bookstore on Jefferson Avenue, Marcus Green sat huddled, his tattered coat not enough to shield him from the cold. In front of him was an old cardboard sign. "Any help is appreciated, thank you." Once upon a time, Marcus had a steady job, a roof over his head, and simple dreams. But a serious work accident changed everything. A spinal injury left him unable to continue working, and hospital bills wiped out all his savings. Then one day, the room he called home closed, and Marcus stepped out into the street. Because of his skin color, Marcus faced not only poverty but also discrimination. He learned to get used to being invisible to others. The scene around him continued as usual. People passed by him without stopping, their eyes never lingering on the face of a homeless man. Many times he heard harsh words. Once, someone said, "Get a job." Surely no one knew that under that tattered coat was a man who had everything: family, job, and a dream of a peaceful life. But now, he was left with only a fragile hope, a hope that not everyone could feel. That day, as the rain continued to fall, Marcus continued to sit there, his coat soaked. He only hoped to be able to ask passers-by for a few coins to buy a cup of hot coffee, to keep warm. But no matter how many people passed by, no one stopped. And then, a pair of shoes appeared. The rain continued to fall, each drop seeping through the eaves, falling to the ground like indelible traces. Marcus still sat there, his tired eyes looking into the distance, no longer hoping for a helping hand. The passers-by still did not stop. They walked hurriedly, their eyes glued to their phone screens, avoiding the gaze of the homeless man sitting on the sidewalk. And then, those shoes appeared, white sneakers, clean and pristine. They stopped in front of Marcus, a complete contrast to his old shoes. Marcus looked up and saw a man standing there, tall, wearing a thick coat and a black hoodie. His face was familiar. Marcus could not believe his eyes. James Carter, a man with an unremarkable appearance. James had also been an unemployed man, struggling with life in discrimination because of the color of his skin. But now he was a billionaire in the tech industry, known for his stories of perseverance and overcoming adversity. But today, there was no pride or arrogance in the way James looked at Marcus. He looked at him like an old friend, like someone who understood what Marcus was going through. "Hi," James said, his voice warm but also firm. "Need a penny?" Marcus looked into James's eyes. There was no pity, no judgment, just understanding. Marcus couldn't believe what he was hearing. Marcus couldn't believe what he was hearing. Someone like James Carter, who had overcome all odds and become a billionaire, was asking him if he needed money? All the other people Marcus had met during his homeless days had looked at him as a nuisance. They didn't see him, just a poor, homeless person, a shadow in society. But James wasn't like that. "Thanks," Marcus said, his voice choking. "But I don't need much. Just $1 for a cup of coffee, if you can." James smiled, but didn't rush to take out the money. He looked at Marcus for a moment, his eyes deep, as if reading everything that was going on in his mind. "Do you think $1 is enough?" James asked. $1 might help you get over your hunger for a while. But will it change your life?" Marcus didn't know how to respond. He just nodded slightly, but James didn't rush to hand over the money. Instead, James reached into his pocket and pulled out a $100 bill. He gave it to Marcus, but not because he felt indebted, not because he thought Marcus couldn't do something on his own. James simply said, with a hidden meaning, "Here's your chance. Tomorrow, help yourself." Marcus looked at the bill in his hand. Not because he was surprised by its value, but because this situation was so different from what he had experienced. This was not just a bill. This was a call, a signal from someone who had walked the same path of suffering as him, but had stood up. "You're not kidding, are you?" Marcus asked, his eyes wide. $100? You really want me to take it?" James smiled and nodded. "I'm not giving you money to stay poor forever. I'm giving you a chance to change. But only you can take it. Tomorrow. Come here." James handed Marcus a small piece of paper with the address of a homeless support center. A place to help people who want to change their lives. It wasn't just charity, but guidance to find themselves again. That evening, Marcus sat in a cozy coffee shop, not feeling invisible for the first time in months. He held his cup of coffee in his hand, not because it satisfied his hunger, but because it marked the beginning of a new life. The next morning, Marcus went to the address James had given him. The center, Hope Haven, where people like him could find hope in life again. He walked in, anxious, but also hopeful. At Hope Haven, Marcus was greeted warmly by the staff. Without judgment, only support and understanding. He wasn't confronted with uncomfortable questions about his past, but instead heard stories of people who had found their lives again after suffering through trauma. A month later, Marcus was on the mend. He took classes, learned how to manage his finances, and learned how to repair the skills he had lost during the job loss. Every day, he recorded small steps forward in a notebook he began carrying around. Finally, James reached out to Marcus again. He called, not to congratulate him, but to ask if Marcus would like to work for his company. James was not only someone who had changed Marcus's life, but also someone who had given him the strength to continue his journey. From that day on, Marcus was no longer homeless. He had a job, a new life, and most importantly, he realized that life doesn't end with failure. On his first day at work, Marcus put on a new suit, instead of a torn jacket. In his pocket was a business card with his name on it. And on the back was a quote from James that he would always remember. "Tomorrow. You help yourself." After Marcus started his new job, his life was no longer a series of dull and hopeless days. He began to participate in community activities, sharing his story to inspire others who were struggling, just like he had. But Marcus's story was not just about meetings, lessons, or advice. One day, while drinking coffee at the center, a Hope Haven staff member walked up to him and handed him an iPad. "Marcus, did you know that your story has become a social media phenomenon?" "Yes, that video of you sitting on the sidewalk. Snoop Dogg came up and gave you $100. It was posted on social media, and now it has over 6 million views," the staff member said, eyes filled with admiration. Marcus looked at the screen, and the image of him sitting in the rain, holding the money from James Carter, flashed before his eyes. The old story has now become a viral video. Comments keep pouring in, full of emotion and empathy. "This story really brought tears to my eyes. I used to underestimate homeless people, but now I see them as myself. This video made me realize that if $1 can change a life, I should also do something to help the people around me." Comments like this keep pouring in. Videos sharing Marcus's story are not only inspiring, but also inspire compassion in the community. Soon, charities started contacting Marcus to invite him to participate in campaigns to help the homeless and those in difficult circumstances. Fame was not Marcus's goal, but it opened up an opportunity he never dreamed of. One day, he received an unexpected call from a construction company in Seattle. "Hi, we saw your video and were impressed with your story. We're looking for someone to do safety consulting work, and we believe you can help. We believe in change and second chances. Are you interested?" Marcus couldn't believe his ears. This wasn't a handout, but a real opportunity for him to get back into the working world, do something useful, and rebuild his life from scratch. He picked up the phone, his voice steady. "I'm ready. And thank you for giving me this opportunity." On his first day at the construction company, Marcus walked into the office in a sharp suit, a business bag, and a new confidence. He was no longer the homeless man sitting on the sidewalk. He was a man with a career just starting, with a bright and hopeful future. His life was not only changed by having a stable job, but also by becoming an inspiration to others. Stories of kindness and change have been shared widely. Marcus's story, the help from James Carter, and the spread of kindness have proven that nothing is impossible. And sometimes just a small opportunity can change a life. Finally, Marcus stood in front of a mirror. Looking at his own image, he smiled. This was the first time he felt worthy of this change. He knew that he did not just have a second chance, he had a new life. And he also understood that a penny can change everything. But sometimes, kindness and trust in others are the most important things. This story is not just Marcus's, but all of ours. We can all change the world around us, even with just a small act, a little kindness.